Hi guys. So today we are going to do a lesson on communication skills um, and the importance and reason for practicing them. Okay. So, what are communication skills? Indeed.com is a website that I use a lot to reference for reference when I'm doing lessons at school. So I know you guys remember that funny handshake video. And obviously, if you're not in my class, there's a really good handshake video that gets a good laugh on Indeed.com. But I got this definition from there. So communication skills are abilities you use when giving and receiving different kinds of information. Some examples include communicating ideas, feelings, or what's happening around you. Communication skills involve listening, speaking, observing, and empathizing. It's also helpful to understand the difference in how to communicate through face-to-face interactions, phone conversations, and digital communications like email and social media. So a couple things I want to reference here. It says communication skills involves listening. So obviously when we're listening to somebody, we're practicing good eye contact, looking at the speaker, and not talking when somebody else is talking. Speaking, we want to use a good tone and volume so people know what we're saying and we're being very clear. Observing, so sort of picking up on what's going on around us. Maybe I'm observing two people talking and I'm waiting to see when a good time for me to jump in is so I'm not interrupting. So observing our setting and empathizing. This is something that I'm not sure if we talk about much, but when you're communicating, it's good to empathize. So you want to relate to what somebody's saying and show compassion, show that you are not comparing situations with them, but doing your best to understand what they're telling you, what they're feeling, what they're expressing. And then the next point I really like, it is important to know the difference between face-to-face interactions, phone conversations, and digital communication. So that's something we're going to get into a little bit, but that's a really important piece that we're going to talk about today. So what does it mean? Just to make it simple, communications when you talk to others, you tell them thoughts, feelings, ideas, anything really. It's when you're telling information, answering questions, when you talk about things that you're interested in or school, right? So communication, talking, self-advocating, different things that you may need or want. So we talk about communication a lot, and I think that you guys probably have a good understanding about what it is, but I just wanted to recap. So how do I communicate with others? So there's two types of communication, right? Verbal and nonverbal. Your verbal communication, you can communicate in person, so talking, on the phone, which again is talking, but it's using a different device, via email, and via here just means through email or by emailing, through social media. So if you are Snapchatting with somebody or sending somebody a message on Facebook, putting something up on YouTube, you're communicating through social media. On Zoom, right? So for us, our morning meetings on Zoom or using FaceTime. And then nonverbal communication. This one's big, all right? So your body language, your facial expressions, and your tone in emails and text. So the first two, body language and facial expressions, are something that we talk about a lot and that are very important. If somebody's talking to me and I'm like, right? My body language and my facial expression isn't really showing that I'm interested, even though I might be. So I want to make sure that whatever I'm doing with my face and my body language match what I'm saying verbally. All right? You guys know me, or my students know me. One of my big ones, right? I roll my eyes a lot. Now, just because I'm rolling my eyes doesn't mean I'm annoyed or being sarcastic. It's just a bad habit that I have. And that's something I need to think about a lot because my nonverbal communication might not be matching my verbal communication, right? And that can be a problem sometimes. And then the last one I think is important, especially considering the distance learning that we're doing, is your tone in emails or texts, right? So if I text somebody and I say, hey, how's it going? And you say, fine. You might be saying to me, fine. Everything's going fine. It's not good. It's not bad. It just is, right? But I might get that text and be like, fine. Ugh, they can't even be bothered with talking to me, right? So sometimes the tone that we use in emails and texts is really important to check. You can check this by rereading before you send something, reading it out loud. Sometimes we type something really quick, either on our phone or the computer, and we don't read it out loud to see what it might sound like to the person who's receiving it or who you're sending it to. So take a second and read it out loud. And if worse comes to worse and you don't know, have somebody else read it for you, right? So most of us are home right now, maybe with our parents or a sibling, right? A brother or sister. Have them read it for you and say, hey, how does this sound? I'm sending this text to my friend. Does it sound okay? I'm going to send this email to my teacher. How's the tone in it? Those are good questions to be asking. So why is this important? Let me move myself again. So we are practicing distance learning, and communication is important to show a couple of things. It's important to show that you are partaking in these lessons, that you're using the skills that you've learned in the past, and most importantly, that you're doing well, okay? Your teachers care about you, and we want to know that you're doing okay. And really, communicating with us is the best way to let us know that everything is going well for you. All right? So, how do I communicate effectively? I put the word effectively here because I think that that's a super important part of communication. You can communicate all day, every day with somebody, but it does not mean that your communication is effective, okay? Effective communication is when you are relaying your point, you're saying, sorry, my dog's crying in the background. It's when you're getting your point across in a kind way, right? With an appropriate tone, good body language. You're asking the appropriate questions for the answers you're looking for. Effective communication is key to being successful, okay? And that's in any aspect of your life. Personal, professional, when you're communicating with your friends, a boss, a boyfriend or girlfriend, effective communication is a big component there, okay? So, effective communication in phone calls. How do I communicate effectively over the phone? Well, if you're able to, answer your phone, okay? If I'm sitting here and I see, oh, my teacher's calling me, I'm not really doing anything, I'm not busy, I'm going to answer, okay? If you miss a call from your teacher, call back or send a text message. Hi, sorry, I was outside with my dog. I missed your call. Should I give you a call back? Did you need me to know something? And then this one's important too, is you also can initiate the phone communication, okay? And initiate here means that you can start it. If you have a question or you need to check in or you want to chat, call me, okay? I think that one's very important because I know a lot of times you might have questions or concerns, or maybe you just haven't talked to anybody else all day and you want to check in and say, hey, how's it going? You can give me a call, all right? That's totally acceptable. And if I am in a meeting or miss the call for some reason, I'm going to do my best to effectively communicate over the phone with you as well by doing what I just referenced in the point above. I'm either going to call you back or I'm going to shoot you a text message and say, hey, I missed your call. What's going on? Can I call you back? Do you want to chat now? When's a good time? All right. Okay. So communicating effectively in emails. If you're able to, check your email every day, okay? With using technology for this distance learning that we're doing right now, You might be getting a lot of different emails from a lot of different people. So it's important to check as often as you can, just so when you go on, you don't have a million and one emails to go through, right? If I don't log on for a couple of days, I'm going to have a lot of emails. There's going to be some important emails. There's going to be some junk emails, some spam. And then I'm going to have to go through all of them and say, oh, what's important here? What's not? What do I need to keep? What should I read? What should I delete? So the more often you can check your emails, the easier it's going to be for you. If you get an email from your teacher, respond to the best of your ability. So maybe I send an email and you're like, oh my goodness, she used so many ridiculous words in this email. I don't even know what it's saying. That's why I put here to the best of your ability. So it is 100% appropriate to ask your parents for help or a sibling, or get on that phone, okay? You can give me a call and say, hey, Kelsey, I was just checking my email. I saw one from you, but I don't really understand what it is. Can you tell me about it? And I think that's totally fine. If you don't feel comfortable calling, you can send an email. And you can send fun emails too, okay? They don't always need to be about school. But this is what I will say. With emails and with phone calls, we need to continuously recognize, right? So always be thinking about the fact that we still have to maintain appropriate boundaries, okay? And this is a skill we need to practice because in our next stage, when we get a job and we're working for a boss, we need to have professional boundaries, right? So an email that maybe I might send to my best friend or a boyfriend or girlfriend or my mom or dad might not be the same type of email that I would send to my boss or a coworker, right? Somebody I work with, because they are part of my professional world and other people are part of my personal world. Now, sometimes you might work with somebody, right? Like I might work with a cousin. So maybe I can shoot them a funny email. Hey, I saw this cartoon, thought you might like it. That's fine. And sometimes that's okay professionally. But until we get really good at maintaining those boundaries constantly, we need to make sure that professional stays professional and personal stays personal, right? So that's something that I think is really important, especially considering that we're going to be using so much technology. It's really important to remember boundaries, right? And a good way to check, touch base with me, okay? Hey, Kelsey, I was thinking about sending this email to one of my classmates. What do you think? Yeah, it looks great. Go ahead, send it. Hey, Kelsey, I was thinking about sending this email to my old teacher. What do you think? Maybe you can check in with them, but the video that you liked from YouTube, it's not really appropriate to share, so maybe take that out, right? Those are things that we can work through together to help practice keeping those boundaries, okay? So in-person communication, it's weird what we're doing right now. None of us have done this before, okay? But it's important to practice the skills that we learn and use at school all the time when you're at home too. So talk to people, talk to your family, talk to someone you might live with, right? Talk to your animals. I mean, my students know I talk to Tito all the time. But seriously, I know it sounds funny, but we need to practice chatting, okay? If I am a baseball pitcher and I'm throwing a pitch and I get really, really good at it, right? And then all of a sudden, I'm not practicing as much. I'm not throwing the same pitch every day. I'm not pitching in as many games. And then all of a sudden, I'm not throwing it at all. But then my coach says, hey, I want you to go in, and he calls that pitch. When I go to throw it, I'm going to be rusty. It's not going to come out as good. It's not going to hit the spot it needs to hit. It's not going to do what it's supposed to do, right? It's the same with your communication skills. If you're not practicing these things, when it comes time to come back to school, we're going to be rusty, okay? And that's going to be expected. But the more you practice, the easier the transition's going to be, okay? So the more you can practice your communication skills, talk to people, ask questions, make phone calls, send emails, Those things are all important to be practicing your communication skills. So what I think is that, was that my last slide? It was. So what I think is that if we can practice our effective communication as much as possible, that is what's going to make our transition back to school the most successful. So a couple of things for my students, okay? Communicate with me. You don't have to go through your parents. You guys all have my email and my phone. You can communicate with me whenever you need to, and you know that. Just like when we're in school in person, my work phone after a certain time at night, I don't answer. And that's just because it's time for me to be communicating with people in my house and my family, right? Even if it means talking to my dog. But I'll always get back to you. But I just want to emphasize, I want to really focus on the fact that during this time and during distance learning, we need to be doing our best to communicate effectively, okay? So if you have any questions about this presentation, about this video, if you want to give me a call or ask me any questions, you're able to do so. You can do it in an email, you can do it in a phone call, but I think that it's really important that we go through this and that we are able to make sure that we recognize what our communication skills are, and not only that we recognize what our communication skills are, but also that we're practicing them, okay? Like I said, if you guys have any questions, let me know, call me, text me. I will be checking in with my kids directly over the next couple of hours anyways. And if anybody else is seeing this and has any questions, feel free to reach out. All right? Have a great afternoon, everyone. Be kind to everyone in your houses, okay?